Thomas and Friends Retold. Episode 10. Trouble in the Sheds. It was a nice day at Knapford Station. Unfortunately, Sir Topham Hatt sat in his office listening to the complaints outside. The passengers were angry. The station master came in. "There's trouble in the shed, sir. Henry, Gordon, and James are sulking, there are no trains, and the passengers are saying that this is a bad railway." "Indeed," said Sir Topham Hatt. "We cannot allow that." He went to Timothy's sheds in his blue car and found Gordon, James, and Henry on strike. The three engines were looking very cross. "Come along, everyone. It's time for your trains," said Sir Topham Hatt. "We're not going," said Gordon. "We won't shunt like little tank engines. That was Thomas's job. We are important tender engines. You will fetch our coaches and we will pull them. Tender engines don't shunt." "We'll see about that," said Sir Topham Hatt. "No engine on my railway is too important for small jobs." And he hurried away to find Edward. The yard has never been the same since Thomas left to run his branch line, he thought sadly. Sir Topham Hatt saw Edward shunting in the yard. "Edward, leave those freight cars, please," said Sir Topham Hatt. "I want you to push coaches for me in the yard." "Thank you, sir. That would be a nice change," replied Edward. "That's a good engine. Off you go, then," said Sir Topham Hatt. So Edward found coaches for the three engines that day, and the trains ran as usual. But the next morning, Edward came to see Sir Topham Hatt. The former looked unhappy. Gordon came clanking past him and hissed steam rudely. "Bless me," said Sir Topham Hatt. "What a noise!" "They all hiss steam at me, sir," said Edward. "They say tender engines don't shunt, and last night they said I have gray wheels. I haven't, have I, sir?" "No, Edward, you have nice blue ones, and I'm proud of you. Tender engines do shunt, but all the same, we do need another tank engine here." Sir Topham Hatt went to a workshop, and they showed him all sorts of engines. At last he saw a smart little green saddle tank engine with 4 wheels. "That's the one," thought Sir Topham Hatt. "If I choose you, will you work hard?" "Oh, sir, yes, sir," replied the green engine. "That's a good engine. I'll call you Percy." "Yes, sir. Thank you, sir." And Sir Topham Hatt brought Percy back to the yard. "Edward, this is Percy," said Sir Topham Hatt. "Will you show him everything?" "Yes, sir," replied Edward, and so he did. Percy soon learned what he had to do, and they had a happy afternoon. Then James came by, hissing steam as usual. "Shh!" went Percy. James jumped and ran back to the shed. "How beautifully you wheeshed him," laughed Edward. "I can't wheesh like that." "Oh, it's nothing. You should hear them in the workshop. You have to wheesh loudly to make yourself heard," said Percy. The next morning, Thomas arrived by Edward and Percy. "Sir Topham Hatt sent for me. I expect he wants help," said Thomas to Edward. Then Sir Topham Hatt showed up. "Well done, Thomas. You've been quick. Listen, Henry, Gordon, and James are sulking. They say they won't shunt like little tank engines. So I have shut them up, and I want you and Percy to run the line for a while." "Little tank engines indeed," snorted Thomas. "We'll show them." "Let's go," said an excited Percy. Edward and Thomas worked the main line, greeting each other as they passed by each other. And Percy puffs along the branch line with Annie and Clarabelle. Thomas was anxious about his faithful coaches, but Percy's driver and fireman promised to take good care of them. There were fewer trains, but the passengers didn't mind. They knew the 3 other engines were having a lesson. Gordon, James, and Henry were cold and miserable. "I knew this was a bad idea," moaned Henry. "I agree with you." "This is all Gordon's fault," shouted James. "My fault? I suppose you're right, James," said Gordon. "I was the one who came up with the revenge plan after all, huh?" I am so very sorry, James and Henry.
That's okay, Gordon. We're still friends,
replied Henry.
Yeah, I'll forgive you once we're out of these forsaken sheds,
shouted James. Oh, the indignity, moaned Gordon. The three engines wished now they hadn't been so silly.